St. Lucia was definitely one of my favorite areas. I think just because, I mean, all the places in the West Indies are beautiful for different reasons. And I found that St. Lucia was the prettiest because it like was the best combination. It had like lots of mountains, it had lots of trees, but then the beaches are really nice and the water is just pristine. So St. Lucia was really nice. At the time that I was serving there, they've since expanded it a lot since the surge of missionaries. When I was serving there, I was moved in as a zone leader, and we had 2 companionships in the north part of the island. The main city there is called Castries, and there's a Castries, we just had 1 and 2. And so my companion's area was a little bit further north, and that was honestly in like the richer part of the island, which I think was also kind of why I liked it, just because it was pretty. Places like Rodney Bay and Gros Islet, they have lots of resorts, like the Sandals resorts are big around there, and there's lots of really nice homes, people that will just choose to live in St. Lucia because it's that nice. And that was mostly the area that we took. Castries, the city in itself, the other companionship would work that more. That was just the boundaries. And then on the southern part of the island, we had another 2 companionships, 1 set of elders and 1 set of sisters, in a place called Vieux Fort. Vieux Fort is much more poor, it's much more rural. I say rural and people, that conjures to the mind that there's like a lot of distance, but honestly it's not. It's just that there's not as much of a city populace there. It's very, very poor. Just complete contrast with my area, where people live in very expensive homes. There's nice marinas and resorts. In Vieux Fort, it's really poor. They have a place called Shantytown, and people live in very small board houses, just zinc, steel fences and things like that. It made it for kind of an interesting place. There was just like all walks of life and really big economic disparity wherever you went. You might have like a really bad neighborhood right next to a very, very wealthy neighborhood, just on such a small island. It was pretty interesting. It has a lot of French roots, because the French had owned it. They also speak a language called patois there. Each different island has kind of their own version of it. It's different than Jamaican patois or others because it's French-based. Those who spoke French could pick it up pretty easily. Those who spoke English, we had no idea what was going on. But again, that was more of a spoken language and it was kind of outdated. So there was very few people, unless they were very, very old, that spoke patois exclusively. It was mostly people who just had kind of learned it because their parents had just spoken it growing up, and so they had just learned both languages. As for St. Lucia, the people there are very, very nice. Yeah, honestly, I really, really love St. Lucians. Their accent is really interesting too because it is French-based, so they sound different than a person from St. Martin or a Tobagonian. Everybody sounds different because their accents are all different. In St. Lucia, the food that they are really known for is more of their bakery items. In Trinidad, Tobago, you'll hear more about roti, which is an Indian food, curry, types of things like that, doubles, which is a street vendor type food. Up in St. Lucia, they don't have a whole lot of that, but their bakeries are really, really good. One item that the missionaries loved is something called a turnover. It's about this big. You can think of it as like a donut. It's basically what it is. It has just like coconut and melted sugar on the inside, and just kind of flip the dough in on itself. And so that's the thing that you would buy just from street vendors or from bakeries and stuff all the time. And that was probably one of my favorite things about St. Lucia was the food. It was really good.